Hey there, we're going to talk today about wood elves and how to make a wood elf army and what models there are. I'm going to tell you everything that I know about them. First off, the wood elves are one of the older codexes, so they still have quite an astounding array of magic items still available to them. As you may know, in 8th edition, the new books have the magic item selection reduced from about 50 to something like maybe 8 to 12 different items. So the wood elves, they have a thing where forests are their friends. Now in 8th edition, that did not really help them very much because now forests aren't, you know, these big thickets where you can't move through them very well, you can't see through them, you're kind of mired down in them if you ever get into forests. And wood elves used to be really fantastic because of that. And in fact, I have, I'm going to use present tense, a really good friend from my old place in California who played wood elves quite effectively. And basically, wood elves work like this. You deploy your guys, and effectively you just move right around to the back of the enemy encampment here. So wood elves basically they won through maneuverability. And so, but I'm going to stick to what are wood elves in 8th edition and tell you how I would go about making a wood elf army. First off, for lords, you have a highborn, spellweaver, and treeman ancient. So a treeman ancient is, in my opinion, a must-take in a wood elf army. And that is a lord level, so we're going to put treeman and then a little star there to show that he's a superhero. And the cost there is 325 points, plus he can have up to 100 points of spites. Now here's an interesting little, because in these videos I didn't really talk much about the magic items, and there's a reason for that. But I do want to talk about one little thing they're called spites. They're kind of like the demonic powers for a lot of the wood elf things. And this is an annoyance of netlings. It's 25 points. In a challenge, any enemy attempting to strike a character with an annoyance of netlings will only hit on 6s. So when the treeman ancient challenges a unit, basically it's just him and the other guy fighting. So the whole unit doesn't get to fight. They still add rank bonus and everything, but they don't get to hit the ancient. And now if I got that wrong, just put it in the comments. And they hit them only on 6s. So Annoyance of Netlings is really a fantastic power for them. They're called spites. Like, not sprites, spites. Because everything has to be in Warhammer Fantasy. So anyway, Treeman Ancient is a must, but you also need to get a Spellweaver, and that really limits your points. Because the Treeman Ancient is going to run you about 350. And when you get a hero, I'm going to put W for Weaver, it is 215, 240 if you want to go level 4, which you do, by the way. And so really, in a 2,500 point game, which is my favored point level, you only have 625 points. So you only have 275 points for your after the Treeman Ancient. So let's just go ahead and put 250 here. Well, no, let's put 275. Because you will want to get some magic items. So basically, you have got 625 points here just with these two models. And by the way, they are very, very helpful. And here's why. Because the level 4 Spellweaver can have Lore of Athaloran, or Lore of Beasts, or, let's see, Lore of Beasts. Wait a minute. Oh, Life. Can have Lore of Life or Beasts. I knew they could have Lore of Life, and Lore of Life is really fantastic. Lore of Beasts isn't too bad either. That does have as a signature spell Wissan's Wild Form. But unfortunately, the Spell Singer, so Spell Weaver is the Lord, Spell Singer is your level 1 and 2 wizard, and can only take spells from Lore of Athaloran. And I won't talk much about Lore of Athaloran, but it's not as good as it used to be, and that's because the old thing was you could move forests. Well, forests don't hurt people as much as they used to. They're not that big of a hindrance. So there is that. Quite frankly, Wood Elves look good. They have a great backstory. But they are a finesse army, and in the current environment, you're going to have to learn to play them very well in order to win with them. In a intermediate level or lower, that is not going to be a problem because they're so full of tricky tricks and they're so maneuverable that they really are quite fantastic. Okay, let's move on to core units. That's my faves. Now, many of you may have remembered me doing the power core concept where I actually painted up 120 Wood Elf archers and started playing with those, and to a great degree of success. So there is Glade Guard, but today we're just going to talk about a mixed army. So what I would do, I would say Glade Guard are really fantastic. They do get some advantages to their bows. So let's take 2 units of Glade Guard. GG, GG, 10 men each, that's 120. 120, I would only give them a musician, which is 6 points. So let's call this 125 and 125. So where are we now? We are at 250 plus 625 is 875. Now you get into something interesting, and that is the Glade Riders. Now the Glade Riders are basically light skirmishing cavalry, and they are good for zipping around behind the lines. They have a movement of 9. They're unparalleled. So the question is, it's rock, paper, scissors. It's Glade Guard or Glade Riders. What are they good at? What is it that they are going to take down, and what is it that they are going to help with? And the fact is that you are going to get around behind enemy lines. So quite frankly, I would take a unit of Glade Riders, and I would take them 10 strong, GR, and that is going to run you about 250 points with a musician. And then you have Eternal Guard. Now, what I've heard, because I haven't tried Eternal Guard yet, so Eternal Guard have 5 initiative, they have 5 weapon skill, they're core, so but they are 12 points each, and they have Eternal Guard weapons and armor. Alright, so Eternal Guard get a 5-up armor save because they parry with things. And so they have like these weapons that are like stabs with blades on either side. So like a double spear. And they also get to fight in ranks as if with spears. So in 5th edition, that's yet another rank. So they fight to the 3rd rank. They count as being armed basically with spears and extra hand weapons. So, and heavy armor. So those guys actually are pretty cool. But what's really great is they're leadership 9, and they are stubborn if there's a noble with them. So I have to say, that actually really strengthens this unit quite a bit. They have a fantastic weapon skill. So that is a way to go with Wood Elves, in my opinion, would be to go massed Eternal Guard. You know what an interesting conversion would be to take Glade Guard, and by the way, you can pick up Wood Elf armies on the cheap, be to take plastic Glade Guard and replace their bows with double-headed spears, and do that conversion. Just have the front rank be that, so you can have multiple ranks. But I guess, do they have bows at all? Oh, they don't have bows. They can't have a magic standard, so that really is not too bad. But for the purposes of our army, the question is, how do you win? So, can Wood Elves have massed ranks of Eternal Guard and stand toe-to-toe with any other army? Well, the answer is yes, because you have to look at the synergy of things here, and how does your army win? Here's how Wood Elves win. So you can't just go through an army list and just be like, well, this is good, this is bad, this is good, and look at every single unit as its own individual thing. And that's what Wood Elves are like. They're a tough sort of army to unentangle, and I think a lot of people don't play them because, and by the way, that was always true even before 8th edition. They've always been a finesse army. You can't just win with Wood Elves by going, you know, you can't do Hulk smash with Wood Elves. You gotta get your Glade Riders around. It's the Tree Men. The Tree Men are very narrow frontage, and by the way, I have played this army. And you get your tree men like this. So these are your tree men. And by the way, this is about another 500 points here. So, so we are at something like 1,600 so far. And those are, by the way, that eats up your rare choices. And they only have 2 rare choices in here. And that is tree men and, wait a minute, is it eagles too? Oh yeah, great eagles are a thing. So great eagles, there's arguments for and against them. I actually think, yeah, you should include great eagles, but let's add up those points. A tree man's 285, so yeah, you need basically, oh God, what would that be? 15 shy of 6, excuse me, 30 shy of 600, it's 570 for your 2 tree men, and great eagle, so yeah, you could get a great eagle in there. And why not? Let's put a great eagle in there, because you have to have some question marks in your army. So you get an eagle. And this is, if I made a wood elf army, this would be it. And by the way, I would love to make a wood elf army. And we actually have one here that we're thinking of completing. In fact, we do have one. We have one ready to go that does have this stuff in it. Yeah. In fact, it has a tree man agent, 2 tree men, a spell weaver. It has Glade Guard in it, has Glade Riders. I believe it has an eagle, I'm not totally sure. I actually think 1 tree man isn't painted. Yeah, this is actually not bad. It's a good mixed army with a lot of possibilities going on. It's the tree men. You put the 3 tree men together, and they go up, and these things are smash-tastic. In fact, the tree man is 6 strength, 6 toughness, 6 wounds. They have a 3-up armor save, plus they're forest spirits, so that's 5-up invulnerable save. I mean, these guys are so hard to kill. They have 5 attacks and a thunderstomp. So with the 3 tree men, that's how you win. You get your tree men on one side, you try and roll a flank with just the tree men charging up. And they're stubborn, by the way. So the tree men they're hard to deal with. So all this stuff, this is light duty here. But what you do is you run around, you kind of dance around with your other units, and your tree men smash. Okay, other core unit, which we didn't talk about, was dryads. Dryads, if only dryads weren't skirmishing, they would be the best thing since sliced cheese. Because, well, and skirmishing only means that you can't rank up. And you don't break ranks. But quite frankly, the dryads are just, first off, all of these models are fantastic looking. There are alternate sculpts out there for the tree man all over. I do think the GW sculpt is a little weak. I mean, it's good for what it is, what they were trying to do. They're trying to make it look kind of like this old, Black Forest, sort of evil looking tree man, which is fine. Dryads are 12 points, but they kind of have Chaos Warrior stats. But instead of Chaos Armor, they have a 5-up invulnerable for Forest Spirit. They cause fear, and so skirmishing can really be a blessing too, because a skirmishing unit doesn't wheel and move like that. They just move like this. They move in as long as no one guy moves more than the maximum amount. They can just reform and just zip around. So they're highly maneuverable, but they do have to win on just those attacks. They have 2 attacks each, and the models are great. They cause fear, weapon skill 4, movement 5. So that is a big advantage for dryads. Are we going to include dryads in our army? That is a real toughie. It just depends on how much you want to narrow this actual hard-hitting frontage with the tree men. And by the way, you cannot underestimate the spell weaver throwing down buffs on things with Lore of Life. +3 to toughness all of a sudden on a critical unit. It's fantastic. Of course, you can say that of any spellcaster. But all of this fits together in a certain sort of way. So yeah, let's get some dryads. And let's get a unit. Let's keep our units light. They don't get rank bonuses, so you just attack with the front guys. So you just get a unit of 10, and they are 12 points each. So that is 120. So where are we? 625, 1125, let's call it 1350, 1600, 50 for the eagle, we're at 1650, I think 1700 with the dryads. So we're getting close here. Okay, so how else do you win? Treekin. So, God, there's lots of different ways you can go with this army. Treekin are, they're stronger than ever. They are toughness 5, strength 5, 3 attacks, and they have scaly skin 4 up, plus a ward save. So that double layer of saviness is really fantastic. Fear, and they have 5 movement. So yeah, we want to get some Treekin. Also, they, like ogre-like objects, they do attack through from the 2nd rank. So we definitely want to throw in a unit of Treekin over here. And let's make it 6 strong. And so at 65 points each, that is, oh my gosh, that is, every 3 of them is 2, that's a 400 point unit. So that's gotta be a beat stick. But you're talking about 18 strength 5 attacks. So that is really a block of heavy cavalry there. But see, now you've got your 3 treemen, your dryads, and your treekin, so you really do have a solid front there. But that's where you got to watch out, because how exactly are you trying to win with this army? Wild Riders are fantastic. They are only 2 points more than the Glade Riders, and they get that they're forest spirits, so they cause fear, and they also get an invulnerable save. So Wild Riders really are a fantastic unit. I've had great success with them. I take 10. But this is where you would more or less go with this is more or less what a Wood Elf army looks like. And again, we do have one on the block right now, or you can commission a Wood Elf army, and you definitely get style points if you can learn how to win with Wood Elves. It's satisfying, because if you play the dance around method of Wood Elves, the question is, think about this. Every unit in Warhammer Fantasy has a threat range. So usually it's this, right? Like where, and then there's a circle here. This is how far this unit could charge, right? Well, what if you could play an entire game where your opponent, nothing your opponent had, could ever get their threat range on you. They could never get a bead on you because you were always moving around the side with dryads. And that's the advantage of dryads, of a skirmishing unit. So you got your dryads here, we'll put a D there. So this unit turns, they're going to charge them. The dryads, it's because a normal unit, they have to kind of wheel and somehow make it out of this front facing. Well, the dryads can just go straight there. They can just move on over that 5-inch movement. So as long as this outside back guy can get past this threat range sort of line there, and that's 10 inches or less, they can make it through. So that's interesting, and I think that's how you win with Wood Elves, is you bring, and 'twas always true, you bring the majority of your army to bear on the minority of their army. And actually, now that I think about it, because forests, boy, I would love to test this out. I don't know, maybe someone with more experience than me can speak to this. Because Wood Elves have the rule where they get to place a forest at the beginning of the game. Oh yeah, that's a thing. Plus at least 2. And if your opponent's like, hey, I want random placement, you're just putting forest because you're Wood Elves. Okay, let's roll. I guarantee you're going to get at least 2 forests on the table, probably more. So anyway, so with tree singing, you move these forests around. Now forests used to make you half movement, and they would block line of sight. And for Wood Elves, that was great, because they had no penalties for forests. So they could just sit in the forest and be like, okay, charge me. I'll just flee, and you'll be stuck in this forest, and it'll take you like 2 turns to finally get yourself righted and out of it. Which was very characterful. But now, what do forests do? They break up rank bonuses. They disrupt enemy units. So that's to me, that's interesting. Like, I just need to change my mindset about that. Yeah, they'll use that in a political attack ad later. Anyway, all right, well, hope you've enjoyed. That is my take on Wood Elves. Do recommend Wood Elves. Don't be afraid of them. Just like the Beastmen. There was nothing wrong with those Beastmen. What happens is, like, I don't know, there's like some kind of, all the forums start picking apart army lists, and once an idea gets out there, it kind of stops innovation with that army. And that's part of miniatures battles, which is, it's not like Magic where you can just change the cards in your deck, or, you know, heaven forbid, do some proxies to test things out. Well, I guess you can do that with Warhammer Fantasy too. You can just proxy things and see if they work. So, I stand corrected. All right, anyway, that's it.